What an amazing talk by Jon Gordon on the power of one more, as well as the three things that he talked about, really, that he wants people to focus on. So the first thing he was talking about was you have to be intentional every single year. And he said you need to start by picking a word that will give you meaning and energy for the year. So my question is have you guys done that? Do you sit down and pick a word for the year? We pick a word, Stephanie and I, every single year, and then both of us individually pick a word. So the thing is right now is if you don't have one, it's not too late. Sit down and pick your word for the last half of the year. He said, that is the power behind the power of doing one more. When you have that thing that's driving you, that thing that's giving you meaning, that thing that's giving you energy, it will push you through to do the things that you otherwise wouldn't do. Now, we're going to equate that to the exact same thing we always come back to. Why? It is your why. The power behind the power is your why. Where are you going and why are you going there? Why are you building your business? Have you thought about that? I mean, you joined for a reason. You may not have dug deep into why you did, but there was a reason why you said yes. And is that enough for you to push through the obstacles that are inevitably going to come? They're going to come regardless. So is the reason why you're doing this big enough to push through those times when you start questioning why you're doing this? What are you willing to do to fulfill your why? Are you going to show up for the one person, even though, like Jon was saying, he went to a speaking engagement thinking that there was going to be hundreds of people there, and there was 6. But from those 6, one turned into a conversation with thousands. So are you committed to showing up for the one that could potentially change the entire face of your business, the entire face of everything that you've been pouring into? See, you have stored up gains that you don't know about. The work that you're doing has invisible return. You're putting time in, you're putting time in, you're putting time in, you're putting the reps in, and you may not instantly see or hit the gold, but you know that there's a time, if you do not give up, all of that stored work turns into success. Do you believe in what you're doing has a positive outcome? He said, leadership is a transfer of belief. So you have to ask yourself, what are you transferring to your team? Maybe look at the results that you're getting. Are they because of the positive things that you're pouring out into your team? Or is the lack of results that you're getting because of the lack of you pouring into your team? The things that you're saying are actually detracting from what your team is doing. So are your negative thoughts coming through to you and through down to your team, or are the positive thoughts that you're telling yourself coming through to your team? Everybody has conversations with themselves, and the conversations with themselves either come from a place of positivity, which pours out through and creates great results, or negativity. And you have to ask yourself, if you are having negative thoughts, why are you listening to them? Because they will not produce positive results. You need to be an encourager of yourself. And the word encourage means to add courage to. So you need to add courage to yourself daily. You need to add courage and encourage others. I come on here so that I can add courage to you so that you can go out and do amazing things that without going through and learning these new things, you might not otherwise have done. So just keep running, guys. Add the courage. The courage builds up inside of you that causes you to continue to run the race further and further and further. And the funny thing that Jon said was, it's not a marathon. Life is not a marathon. That's what, you hear people say all the time. Oh, life's a marathon. Life's a marathon. Just keep running. He goes, no, it's a series of sprints within a boxing match. You're going to run and get hit, run and get hit, run and get hit, run and get hit. It's inevitable. So anybody that tells you it's a marathon is fooling you. You are in a boxing match sprint. So watch out and have optimism, because every time you get hit, depending on whether you bounce back or not, depends on the level of success that you have. Every successful person has got up from a knockdown. Also, your optimism is your separator. Your positive energy must be more than the negative energy that comes towards you. Guys, positive energy coming towards you is few and far between. You have to create positive energy from inside of you and push that out to start correctly impacting the things around you. Because of the fact that you're constantly having negativity bombarded on you from news, from social media, from that doubting friend, that doubting parent, those negativities are constantly going to be there. So you have to have the positivity built up inside of you to directly impact that. He said, the three things that you have to do in order to build that up is, one, you have to love. Do you have a devotion to what you're doing? Because when you have devotion to what you're doing, it drives your discipline. Discipline is the thing that we talk about all the time. Everyone wants to talk about motivation and being motivation, but it's truly the discipline that causes you to get the habits, which causes you to get the results. But before the discipline comes the devotion, because when you're devoted to it, when you love it, when you have a vision for what you're doing, the discipline becomes easy. Number two, he said, serve. When you give, it starts the process of receiving. The law of reciprocity says you will give and you will get, but it doesn't happen in that order. You don't get first so that you can give. You give out of what you have, and then you start receiving. A lot of people say the when I statements, when I have time, when I have money, when I have this is when I'll give. But the thing that sets that off is the giving. You don't have to be great to serve, but you have to serve to be great. It is a law. It's one of those things that the people that serve the most people feel the most rewarded, and they have a better fulfilled life because of the fact that pouring into others is something that creates significance, not just success. So when you define your success, also make sure that the success has some sort of significance in it. Otherwise, when you get there, that shiny thing that you had for success without significance will be dull once you get there. And the third thing he said is care. Caring is, so when you're taking notes, capital is a success strategy. When you care, it will raise your value. You can go into most office environments, most corporate environments, and the people who care the most about what they're doing and the people around them are the people that have the most success, the most friends. They have the ears of the management because of the fact that you're caring enough to interact and to pour out positivity. That is going to create a positive bubble around you that people are going to want to be a part of, which in return raises your value. So when you care more, you do more, you give more, and that will cause you to impact more people, which in turn gives you a greater return on what you're doing. He asked these questions: how can you care more? How can you take more action? And how can you have a big enough why that will cause you to do one more? Because that one more is the separator between you and everybody else. And the thing that we look at every single year is, how can we do one more than we did last year? Month to month, how can we do one more than we did last month? And when you string enough one mores together, at the end of your life, when you look back, you will have a life full of accomplishments because you've constantly stretched yourself. You've constantly pushed yourself to the next level, the next edge of where you could go. And the last thing that he said was he used a Greek word called meraki. And the word means to do something with love and leave something behind. You leave a piece of your positivity behind in what you're doing. So guys, live your life with meraki. Do your work with meraki. Do something with love and leave something behind. That's where I'll leave today, guys. Go out and make it an amazing week. And I hope your week is as awesome as you are. See you again next time.